Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming, and often people view bridges as a way to reach a destination, and therefore bridges are a way to overcome obstacles. Bridges also represent transitions. Crossing over is a euphemism for taking that journey from life to death. Today we're going to talk about bridges, because I don't think it is a coincidence that a lot of this season centers around bridges. The past to the future, the old to the new, life to death. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here tonight. We got one hater already in the house. How do we get a dislike before we even did our introduction? I want to say what's up to Valar. Hello, 99 Army Kills, Emmy, Steph, Kale, Sweet Tommy, Bree sponsors, Patreons, and Super Chatters. So, the bridge is important. I've seen a lot of theories with the bridge, and we're going to drive ourselves crazy trying to make sense out of it. I will tell you, for every 100 times we've watched the trailer and posted our stills and circled things, and this happens, the producers and the editors of AMC have done the same thing. And they are going to show us what they want to show us. Now, there are some clues, but they've seen it, they've analyzed it. Pete D in the house is very deep intro today. You know, I wanted to talk about symbolism. One of my favorite literature pieces is a separate piece. And in that, the symbolism was around a tree. And they kept going back to the tree. And the bridge, I think, is important as well. So, let me start by saying, this scene is a prop scene. What you see on the screen right there. We're going to talk about the bridge in 1 minute. We want this to be the road. We want this to be the road to the bridge. We want this to be the road that Daryl and Rick drive on. However, there's a couple flaws with this. And it's like when they filmed the scene with Lucille. Take a look at the grooves in the dirt, in the sand, in the dust. And then there's pebbles over the top of it and then the blood. This scene may not make it in this form into The Walking Dead. It's too perfect. This is a group putting down the dirt, laying the gravel, and then filming the blood drop. So when we look at something like this, it's inconceivable that a vehicle could drive over it, leave those tracks, that a wheelbarrow could drive over it, leave those tracks, and then the pebbles drop on top of it. Does that make sense to everyone? I mean, take a look at how perfect these grooves are under the boots. And then the pebbles drop on top, and then the blood. So this was set up only to film this scene. It had to be perfect for this scene, so we look at it and say, the bloody boots, it's Rick. And they got us doing it. So it might be tough for us to figure out where this happens, because they know that we're going to try to figure out where this happens. But dust, dirt road, a path is the most logical explanation at this point. So let me go through a couple scenes, because I've seen some of the theories out there. You guys are sending them to me. How did we get there? So if we are going to take the path and the Rick walk and these grooves and the pebbles, we know that Rick and Daryl took a bike ride. And we know Rick's wearing the same shirt. So we can see this path. So somewhere along this path, I am going to say, is where the bloody action takes place. Not the bridge scene. I'll get to the bridge scene in a minute. You can speculate it's Daryl and Rick fallout. You can speculate it's something else. I still think that there is a Daryl and Rick fallout, and Rick will end up walking down this road, and that will be his boots and blood dripping. Whether it's Rick's blood or someone else's blood, I still think it is the head of someone. I still think it is the head of a decapitated Maggie. Or Heath, or Rosita. But I think that when they get split up, that Rick will be walking down this path. Now, it won't look the way it just looked. It's not going to be perfectly laid out with those little grooves in there. I mean, it would have a bike track and a couple other things. So I think that's a prop only. But let me take you forward just a little bit more. So this scene is symbolic of where it all goes down. You've got, they're driving down this path. And the reason this is important is because I think this is where the ambush takes place. I know a lot of people want it to be on the bridge, but I'm going to show you something in a couple minutes that makes me think that the bridge scene is something totally different, that it's not Rick walking back to the bridge, because we're going to piece it together with the best data that we possibly have. So I still think that this road, and you can see this road is not perfect, but this is the road that Rick is going to end up walking down, either his last walk, where he's the one bleeding, or holding the head of someone else. So once again, it's not a perfect scene, but I don't think we can use the boots as a perfect example. So let's go forward just a little bit and let me show you. Once again, there's the road, as we talked about. Now, it's important to understand the timeline. So the timeline starts with the destruction of the bridge. We can all agree on this, right? This is early on. So everyone in the scene, this is probably episode 1, episode 2. This is when the bridge actually gets broken down and the group has to decide that they've got to band together to rebuild. Rebuilding is symbolic. So we'll take a look at this scene. We know this happens early on. Why? Because it's metal, there's no wood. If you don't believe it, let's take a look at this scene. Once again, it's all metal, the structure, and you can see the bad CGI, everything that goes down. This is when the bridge breaks. Now, let's fast forward a little bit, and we know that multiple times throughout this episode that there's going to be problems with Rick and Daryl. This particular scene is once the bridge is being, can I say erected? Okay, I'll say it. When the bridge is being built, constructed, then there's a little bit of words here between Rick and Daryl. How do you know this? Look at the look on Eugene's face. Look at the people in the background. And then, I think, was this one of the saviors? He's actually reaching over to Rick as Rick turns around and faces Daryl. So throughout this, I think we're going to have 3 or 4 scenes where Rick and Daryl are at odds until it gets to that boiling point where they take the ride and then the fight's going to take place. Remember, I said last night that I think the most important scene in the entire season is going to be this supposed fight scene between Rick and Daryl. And I don't think it's going to turn into that. I think all throughout the season, it's going to be animosity, and are we on the same team, Rick, and Daryl sharpening a knife, and you just thinking like, what's going on? Are they going to kill each other? But I still think the bike drops, they're getting ready to stand off. Maybe they get a few swings in, and they get interrupted this time by the whispers. I'm still going with that. But we do have to backtrack and talk about the bridge a little bit. So here, there's already some construction going on. This is important because Daryl has some problem with what they're doing. Maybe Daryl doesn't like the fact that they're spending so much time, so much resources rebuilding and working together as a group. Now, this is the scene that everybody wants to talk about. And Shannon, this is kind of for you, because Shannon posted some really good stuff on our 999 Army fan page. And it had bloody sleeves, possible stab wound, Rick's face, a little bit of dirt. I'm going to disagree. And I'm going to show you why in a second. I don't disagree lightly with what you're saying. I think there's a lot of work that went into it. Also, I've seen people say, maybe that is Maggie over the shoulder of Rick. It may be, it may not be. But once again, I don't think this is the scene where Rick would be holding Maggie's head in the first place. So whether that is Maggie or not Maggie, I don't think it's relevant to the overall story, because I think this happens before some of the other stuff goes down. What's important about this is the bridge in the background. And we're going to look at something that does stand out quite well. Now, if Rick were injured, I know some people want this to be the scene. Rick is injured and the bloody boots, and he's walking up there and he just can't make it, and this is where he kneels down, right? I've seen this. I've seen this on several websites. But the way Rick turns around does not look like he's agonizing. Furthermore, there's a whole lot of people running past Rick. If Rick were injured and bleeding out, I got to imagine one of the first people would probably get to Rick and give him some cover. Daryl looks at Rick and runs right by him. Eugene glances, and they're running full speed. They're not running to say, oh my God, let's get Rick back. They're running through to what's on the other side. And I do think that this is a herd. It looks good. It's around their bridge. I know there's a lot of buildup. Carol's running. Could be Maggie, might not be Maggie. The point is, whether it's Maggie or not Maggie, I still think Maggie could be alive at this point. I think it's a herd. I don't think it's even the Whispers. You got Carol, you got Eugene, and we could go through this scene and say, okay, we didn't see Rosita. Maybe Rosita's dead at this point. Okay, maybe that's Maggie. Maybe it's not Maggie. Maybe Maggie's dead at this point. But the important thing is the next scene. So keep in mind, the bridge is in the background. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is important as well. Daryl runs through where they did the construction on the bridge. And then the herd is on the other side. Take a look at the rope. Okay, the rope is probably not just some random rope laying in the middle of the road. This is at the other side where they're still doing construction. There's still some things going on. They're not laying cement. They are building the bridge with boards. So this is when Daryl runs through past Rick and then kills a couple walkers and does his hack and slash. 2 knives. All right? That's important, but this is important as well. This is most likely the aftermath after everybody runs past Rick. And it looks as if they ran past the bridge to the other side. This is where they killed the walkers. And when it's said and done, they turn around and something has their attention on the other side. So if that were the case, and Rick's hands are bloody, so he's done some fighting, then they turn back and they're walking back toward the bridge. Now, is something else going on? This scene is very mysterious to me. And I think now they're facing back toward the bridge. But Rick is healthy. He's not bleeding out. He does have walker blood on him, but he's fighting. So it appears as if they run past Rick, and then Rick gets up at some point and joins the fight. Or they confront someone. So let's take this forward a little bit more. This is what the bridge looks like. There's no... It's 2x4s. Or whatever. Bigger than 2x4s. 2x8s. What? They're big boards. Not 2x4s. But you can see the construction. So when that group runs... And I just wanted to pull this up just for the reference of the Henry scene. They run full speed over the top of the boards. It's not your standard road. We'll take another look at another scene here. This fight scene. We've seen this multiple times. So all throughout this, the construction is going on. You can see the sides. You can see where they're working on it. So when this group runs and they see something on the other side, Unless, the Whisperers are down below the bridge, climbing over the top of the bridge. That's a possibility. Walkers aren't going to be climbing. But I'm going to stick with that this is a herd, and the bridge has a lot of symbolism, but this is not the death scene. This is not Rick struggling back and falling over the bridge, and then everybody runs over to take out the Whisperers. The more I look at this and piece it together, it just doesn't jive. And I am going to go back to this scene, which is not bridge related. But I do feel like the fact that they only show one person crying, and it is Enid, to me tells me that something has went down with Maggie. Not that she wouldn't be emotional with Rick or with Rosita or with Eugene or anybody else. I still think that there's an intent to show Enid because of the relationship with Maggie. So we will still watch this, and here's the thing that you have to be really careful. And I know we're looking at this person was wearing this shirt in this scene, and then they were wearing it in another scene. Look, this is 5 or 6 episodes. It's possible, even likely. We've seen Rick in a blue shirt. We've seen Rick in a white tee. We've seen Rick in his tan shirt. And most of the scenes that happen with Rick in the tan shirt. Now, throughout the season, it's not inconceivable to me that the scene with Rick goes down in episode 3, Walker Blood. He washes the shirt, wears it again in 5 or 6 or 8. I don't think that all these are just one continuation of Rick's got a clean shirt and then Rick's got mud on his face and Rick's dirty. I really think that this has been spread out, and I think there's some intent there with the different clothes, the different attire. We don't know to be honest, we don't know what someone's wardrobe is like. And I've seen people already talking about it. The one thing, and with continuity, it's going to be tough because there are going to be some things that they put in here that they don't even show the whole scene. And I really think the boots are going to be part of that. Now, do I think those are Rick's boots? Absolutely. They look like Rick's pants. They look like Rick's boots. One thing that I'm trying to do, and maybe you guys can help me with this, just to confirm, just for fun. Perhaps there is what appears to be, to me, in Rick's left boot. That appears to be a little bit of a hole in the front of the boot. Now, if we can find something to just confirm that, but I'm pretty convinced that those are Rick's pants. It looks like a couple scenes. They look like Rick's boots to me. But just to confirm, I tried to look to a couple scenes. It does look like there's a hole in the front of the boots. Maybe, maybe not. But if you guys can help me with the confirmation of that, just to try to add a little bit more clarity to it. But once again, the pebbles are too perfect. The dust, the dirt it's got those little grooves. Like what they did, honestly, is they put the dirt, they smoothed it out, they dropped pebbles on it, and they said, "Hey, Andrew, come over here and film this." Or they just got a stunt double. Maybe Andrew was done at this point, and they said, "Let's just film the person walking." Now, it doesn't mean that when we see it in season 9 that there won't be some similarity to this. But this looks like it was something that was just filmed for the trailer. Just to throw us off a little bit. Now, once again, all these details that are out there, I don't know if the hole in the boot is even relevant. But I'm just trying to figure out if there's another scene. And I wasn't able to find it. I've watched it 100 times. Could be. I mean, it could be something. It could be a shadow. I'm just going to recap, though. I'm going to stay with that this is the blood of someone that Rick discovered. The staggering to me, it does kind of make a little bit of sense, but it makes too much sense. Rick's staggering, he's along this dirt road, he gets to the point of the bridge, he falls down, but then all the people run by him full speed. So that just to me does not seem likely. And once again, this path, I think, is something we've got to take a strong look at. Check out a couple more things here. Even the outside of the bridge, you can see, is cement and asphalt. And I don't have the picture of Rick's face, and I know many of you have seen it, but check it out one more time if you guys want to go back and sort of watch the scene. Rick does not look like he's dying to me in this scene, and that's why I don't think it's related to the Whisperers at all. I think this is fairly early on. They're doing the construction. This is right after the scene with the fallout between Rick and Daryl. I'll get to that in 1 second. We do have a super chat. So Jake from State Farm at 3 a.m. says, in that shot where they're looking over the bridge, there's blood on the ground and the head color is different than the neck Whisperer mask. Jake, I'm going to have to go back. So in the shot where they're looking over the bridge, there's a body on the ground, and the head color is different than the neck. Are you talking about the scene? Hold on. Let me pull this up and see if we got the right scene. Is it this scene that you're talking about? Hey Jake, if you can confirm that this is what you mean. And I'm hard pressed at this point to speculate whether there's any humans mixed in with this or not. But something has got everyone's attention. So I'm going to ask the group this question. And I think this might have been what Jake's talking about. So he says, yeah, in the middle. My question to you, what has all their attention after they kill this group of walkers? Because I do think that we can put together a decent theory with this particular scene. Rick's down on one knee, everybody runs past, they kill the walkers that are out there, they turn around. What is it on the back toward the bridge that's got everybody's attention? Julie, I don't know. Because they're turning back toward where the construction was. That's what's got me a little bit confused. Unless, well, here's the thing. There is wooded area to both sides. Is it possible that Rick was down on one knee the herd started coming. Everyone ran across the bridge to get over. Rick gets up, joins in. They take everything out. And is it possible that someone came out of that wooded area, or someone either they know, someone they haven't seen in a while? What's the thought process there? Peggy says maybe they're surprised the walkers are acting human. Heath, the whispers. And, there were a couple scenes where I know the Saviors and some of the other group were fighting. I didn't look at the background to see if this is a scene where maybe someone puts the knife around Carol's neck. But there could be a little bit of revolt. So I know Valerie says the whispers. Once again, something is still going down after all the walkers were killed. The looks on their faces are not, hey, we just got rid of the threat. The looks on their faces are, we just got rid of something, and then what the hell's going on back here? Michonne still got the weapon. Rick's bloody hands, they just went through and killed a lot of stuff, but they're focused on one thing. And we got a lot of good comments in here. CRS says the Whisperers are probably standing there watching the walkers get killed. Lucas says maybe the Whisperers run away from them because they're outnumbered. Dwight to mention the Whisperers. So the person in front of them is facing the same direction as them, right? Yeah, there is another person with the sleeves up. The only person I could see, and right after this scene is a scene of Jadis taking a bucket off someone's head with the necklace. I don't know that that's Jadis's arm. It looked more like a rolled up sleeve, but I think Jadis did have a shirt similar to that. Could be Sadiq. Dwight comes out of the woods. Yeah, a whole lot of interesting concepts. Maybe a Whisperer showed themselves. And if they did, they better hit the road. Is it possible they capture a Whisperer this early on? Yeah, you've got, this is Michonne, Jesus, Daryl, and Ezekiel. Now, keep in mind, this is the scene where Daryl went in and went crazy mode and they ran across the bridge. So what they're looking back at is, in theory, Eugene's there, Carol's there, the person maybe Maggie, maybe not Maggie, but there's another 30 people in Rick's line of sight, in Ezekiel's line of sight. So what I would think is that there's some personal animosity here. Rick and Daryl just had that look and had a little bit of something going on the bridge. Eugene was there. He had the clipboard. He had the Indiana Jones hat. Then, they're all doing work. They're working on the bridge, and a little bit later, something goes down. Rick turns around. The whole group runs full speed. They get to the other side. They take everything out. Rick gets up, helps them. Then they turn around and start looking back toward the bridge, and there's a whole line of people there. So this could be nothing more than a fight. You know, like they take out all the walkers, and then there's just a few crazy people that want to keep it going, human versus human. And there's a lot that went across that bridge. Or, as we said, we might get our first introduction to the Whispers. Now, I'm going to go to Jimmy's Jammin', and then I'm asking my comic book fans to chime in on something. So Jimmy's Jammin' says, kills in the comics. Negan is fully aware of the Whispers. Do you think Negan could possibly give Rick the inside scoop? They are hanging around in the show. Jimmy, Negan has information, and Negan is going to be very important. We've talked about this in a couple streams where, and I've even said I think Negan becomes a little bit of the prophet, the philosopher, because they've been around to a lot of communities, and we don't know on the show what he knows. And he might have gotten some additional information from Jadis, but we know that he's been out there scavenging the area, and he's got a lot of people sending information in. So maybe Rick does go down and talk to Negan multiple times and gets little bits and pieces. I would not rule it out, Jimmy. I think it's a strong possibility that some of these little nuggets or some of these things that Rick gets are going to be eye-opening. Possibly when everything does go down, if Rick leaves. So if you guys have not seen the video last night and the last couple days, let me kind of rehash my theory on Rick and Maggie and the Whispers and Rick potentially leaving. So if Maggie were to die and die in a brutal fashion, and Rick has gotten to that point where he's got to protect his own, I would not be surprised if Rick is the person to open the jail cell after, these weeks and weeks. I think throughout the season, one of the themes that we're going to see is Rick going down, sitting down, talking to Negan. And he'll get more serious and more interested in that conversation. And if Rick decides to pack it up and leave, I think the last thing he's going to do is open up the cell and saying, you're on your own. You want to take care of this fight? You take care of the fight. And I'm still holding out for Rick leaving as a protection mode. And I know we don't want our Rick Grimes, we don't want our hero to ever run from a fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if Andrew leaving for a while forced the writers into that. Now, I have not gotten to a point in the comics. I'm on 107. So I'll catch up, I promise. How were the Whispers introduced in the comic? If someone can just give just a quick couple lines. I know the scene with Rosita and Eugene. Is that the first scene where the Whispers were in the comics, where the mud happened and Eugene says, are they talking? Okay. I thought that scene might be important and it might be relevant, but that's why I'm going to go back and say this is probably something that is planting the seed early on that the groups can't work together. So I think this is going to be it's going to be evident. So the bridge falls down, and it's going to be symbolic. And they start building. And while they're building, we see Aaron fighting a savior. Then we see Daryl fighting a savior. Then we see Rick and Daryl having problems. Then they got the rope, and they're fixing things, and then there's a herd. So they all band together. They got to go fight the herd. And then they kill the herd, and they come back, and then there's something else going down. And then they get in a fight at the camp. So I think there's going to be 5 or 6 times throughout the first few episodes where we see that groups cannot get along. And I think this, I hate to downplay it because I really want it to be something. But the more I look at it, I think maybe it's not something. Maybe it's just that anger that's just adding on to the storyline, if that makes sense. Because I don't see the scene with Rick kneeling as a looking at it again, we'll take a look here. I'm going to go back and just watch, but the look on Rick's face is not pain and agony. And as we talked about, if Rick is carrying the decapitated head of Maggie or someone else, and as we said, this could be Maggie over his right shoulder. And when I made the prediction, it wasn't related to this scene. It was related to the scene after Daryl and Rick have the standoff at the bike. That's where I think they're going to see the first death. But keep in mind, Eugene has the hat on. He just had the clipboard. This is probably the same day. It's probably part of that construction. Kieran, I just don't see it. I don't see Rick being stabbed in this scene because, and as I'll show you again, I feel like this is the scene right after that. So you've got Rick kneeling and turning around, but then if there is a little bit of logic and sequence, this would appear to be the scene after they all run by and clean up all the walkers. And as I said, we can zoom in, we can speculate, we can talk about, where the dirt's at on his forehead, if he's sweating, if there was a fight. But I just don't know that we're going to be able to make a whole lot out of that. Well, and Buffy says she thinks that this is the scene before that. I don't know that makes a whole lot of sense. And here's why. So they just all cleaned up these walkers, and then Rick goes back to the bridge, no break, doesn't do anything, kneels down, and all of a sudden there's another threat, and then they run back across the bridge. I tried to look at it and say, would that make any sense? But it just doesn't. And this is on the other side of the bridge. There's none of the cement barriers, and there's none of the wooded structure. You can see the curve kind of goes down. So this is after they went across the bridge, killed the walkers on the other side, and then turn around to go back toward where they started from. It's a great question. We've got Drama King saying, why is he kneeling? He could be kneeling for a number of reasons. He could be down on one knee tying a shoe. He could be working on something. He could be hammering something. I mean, there's a lot of things he could be doing on the end of a bridge. But I think it's because of the angle that there's going to be some speculation that something is going down. I would like, for every person that's out there to say, he's stabbed, He's carrying someone. He's got, dropped somebody's head there. The problem that I have, hammering wood would make a little bit more sense. I mean, the problem that I have is the reaction of everyone. Will, you can't really say, look, I've watched this 20 times. Just that part. I don't know he's holding his side. I see he's turned to the side. He doesn't look like he's in pain. He doesn't look like he's sweating or bleeding or desperate. He turns around casually like, what the hell's going on? There's no agony on his face. There's no... Look, anybody here ever been stabbed in the audience? We'll take a quick poll. Anybody ever been stabbed on the side? Will, Saint, have you been stabbed in the side? I can tell you, the look on Rick's face is not the look of someone who's been stabbed in the side. There's got to be some pain there. And once again, in sequence, let's go back and take a look at something here. So here's the question that I have, and this is why I'm going to stick to it being a herd. 1, Rick is not showing any signs of pain in this scene. That's 1. Number 2, is anyone going to run over to him? Just curious. So, some of you that are telling me that Rick is stabbed, he doesn't look like he's stabbed, and no one gives a shit about him. I'm sorry. I'm going to be as blunt and as direct as possible. They're all running past him, and nobody's like, hey, somebody get Rick. Get him some help. No, they're running to fight. And they're not running slowly. They're not running as if something is right beside Rick. They're running as if they see something that they need to run full speed. So there's no look of pain on his face. There's nobody running to Rick. And they're all running full speed away from Rick. Doesn't really add up as Rick just got stabbed and limped over and is agonizing. Exactly. I think they're running toward the herd. Jump in here real quick. We got a super chat. So a girl and a chihuahua says the scene with Rick's shoes. Could Rick be a walker in the end? This is my first super chat ever, by the way. So let me say this. Thank you so much for the super chat. And this is the first super chat. So I'm going to make this, hold on, because we're going to get heated. It's going to be a heated discussion. Because, look, we all get the theories. We're going to hold on to them. I'm right. Rick is down on a knee. He's been stabbed. He's at that bridge. And that's where it's all going to go down. We'll get back to that in a minute. Super Chat Spotlight. I want everybody to give their 2 cents for a girl and a chihuahua. The scene with Rick's shoes. Could Rick be a walker in the end? We did briefly talk about that. And one of the things that came out of that, yes, he absolutely could be a walker. He could be turning. He could be bleeding out. It could be the very end for Rick. But it almost seems the way they filmed that's the obvious assumption. Which is why I'm going to go back, because when that first happened, a girl with a chihuahua, there are other YouTubers out there that said Daryl's the one that stabbed Rick. Daryl was sharpening his knife. They drove off. They got in a fight. Daryl sabotaged him. Daryl cut him. And then they show the scene from the waist down of Rick bleeding. And as we talked about that in some of the streams, we thought, you know what? That could be a walker walk, but it's so obvious that it's like a walker walk that it seems like Rick is struggling to deal with whatever he's dealing with. Maybe he's holding something. Oh, for the love of God. Game of the Walking Dead. Did you just type Rick lost his hand? Did you really just type that in our stream? I know you didn't. Oh, boy, this is going to get super heated. Not the losing the hand again tonight. Why do any of you still want Rick to lose his hand? The governor cut off Rick's hand so long ago. It has not happened at this point. It is not going to happen. Rick is not losing his hand. Okay. I got to be a little heated because it just gets suggested so much. It could be. Let me give a few different scenarios. And I'll let you guys pick one. Okay? I really love finding Maggie's head on a pike. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys have not watched the video, watch the video we did yesterday because I tried to put it in the best possible terms I could of how I think this Maggie being decapitated scene is going to go down. I think it's great for her character. I think it's great for the show. And I think it's great to make us hate the Whispers. But you got three options. Option one, Rick is a walker. Actually, I'm going to give you four options. Four options. Option one, when Rick is stumbling and the blood's dripping down, he's a walker. Option two, Rick is injured. Option three, Rick is holding Maggie's head. Option four, Rick is holding a person above his waist. And he's stumbling because the person is heavy. So he could be holding the head and he's in shock, or he's walking really slow like that because he's got the weight of someone. Right? I mean, you ain't going to be walking really fast if you got a 120 to 180, 90 pound person. What if it's the body of Heath and he's walking? What if it's the body of Rosita and he's walking and the blood's dripping down? There is a reason why they only showed that small area. So I know it's an extended answer to the super chat, but I just don't feel like he's a walker. I really, really, truly think Rick is leaving. I know that it's wishful thinking, and I know we've got our theories, and look, I'm not trying to dog anybody's theories. I'm just kind of openly analyzing. It's very possible that Will Saint might be right. I mean, maybe there's a little more to that scene we haven't seen it. It doesn't make sense to me, so I'm kind of talking through it, but it could happen. Thank you so much, Donnie Blair. Donnie Blair says we have the best live streams around. And you know what? I'm going to agree. It's not because of me. It's because of all of you. I think we've got the most passionate group. We got an amazing team here. I am going to take a brief moment and ask everybody here, 300, 400, 500 people been in the stream. If you guys could all do me a favor, hit the like button. We got 9 or 10 people that don't like what we do. You can see the dislikes. But let's show those 9 or 10 people that we can get 200, 250 people to like it right away. You guys can do that. Show a little bit of love. Also, if this is your first stream, make sure you hit that 999 in the video right there. Subscribe. Get involved. We love everybody's opinions. We love to hang out. We want to build this team up. And a lot of creativity. Lisa Khaleesi, we discussed it a little bit. We'll get into it a little bit later on in the week. But I think that's sabotage. I don't think that's saviors posting that message. I think that's another thing that's so obvious that I don't think the saviors need to type that or write it. I think that's somebody just trying to split the groups up. And a couple of the things that we have predicted, and some people agree, some people don't. I think that Rick's, when they face a bigger enemy and he knows he's outnumbered, the groups are going to have to split up a little bit. And I think Rick is going to take Judith and Michonne, and they're out. And I do think they'll leave the door open for him to come back at a later point. T-Dog. Was that question for me? I just saw a couple chats, so he wanted to know if there's a point. T-Dog, you with us? Maybe we lost him. T-Dog, I would say, let's see, yeah, man, is there a direct image in your head to get to? Here, I would say that you probably are not somebody we want in our stream, but thank you. If you had an attention span probably more than 2 minutes, you might be able to stick with us. But unfortunately, I can't give you like a 5-second analysis of something that's a little bit deep. So you might want to find a channel that kind of forces the opinions down your throat, and then you can watch it for 10 seconds and then move on and do something else. This is not that channel. What we actually do here is we come up with a topic, and we switch a topic, and we shift a topic, and we talk about a bunch of different theories. So I would say my point is peace out, brother. All right, moving on. You got your 2 minutes. You know what? I just caught my eye. we're having some fun with him. All right, I'm reading through a couple comments here. I didn't disappear on you guys. Lolala. I did see that as well. But I don't know that I've seen anyone in an interview say, my story's close-ended and they're going to kill me off and this is the end of it. So several people have typed that, and it's the same thing. Even though Andrew said Rick Grimes has a lot of story, doesn't mean they won't kill him. And I'm hopeful that they don't, but I'm also not going to go back and say, well, Andrew says Rick has a lot of story and he didn't come out and say Rick was going to die, so that means he's going to live. I could very much see Rick dying. And I don't want to see him die. I'm still holding on because, you know, there's these building blocks of this theory. And to me it makes sense, but I'm not naive to think that everything that we predict is going to happen A, B, C, and D, and it's going to flow perfectly like that. But I could see them building up the teamwork and the Civil War and showing that Rick and Daryl have it out. And then this bike ride, and then you think that Rick and Daryl are really going to do it this time. They're going to kill each other, and then they face a bigger enemy, and then the whole story shifts at that point. And then we start finding out decapitations, and then Daryl, gets that spear and goes on a rampage and wants to kill people, and Rick is carrying a body back, and you see the blood dripping, and they know it's a bigger enemy, and then Negan's going to have to, come over to the good side at some point, so Andrew wants to leave. Could all these things, do they make sense in my mind? Yeah. Rick takes Michonne and takes Judy and hits the road, and Daryl and Negan are forced to kill things with Magnus Group and other people that are there, while Rick takes care of his stuff in real life and leaves the door open. But could I see Rick bit by a walker, killed by a whisperer, taken prisoner by a whisperer? Absolutely, I could see all those things go down. But I'm going to stick to what I think until we gradually find bits and pieces that don't make it make sense. And I don't think we're going to disprove a whole lot from the trailer. I think, there's going to be another picture that'll surface here or there, an Easter egg, a speculation, the Commonwealth we know on the windmill. That's kind of cool. We know they're up around the Smithsonian. We know that Magnus Group's going to be introduced. We know that Eugene and Rosita are running from Whispers. Maybe that's the first time that we're introduced to them. But this scene with the bridge looks like this is going to happen early on to me. And that's why I wanted to give the bridge clues, because I think that this is, I hate to say it like this, but right now it feels like a lot of stuff about nothing. But we may change that. We may talk about it a little bit deeper. I am absolutely open to your thoughts, your theories. If you find a bit or a piece that you think works well that you want to talk about, you guys can send it to me on Kik at KILZHOT. You can definitely join our fan page, The Walking Dead 999 Army, on Facebook, or subscribe and send messages and leave comments and videos. So I think all of the above, we're just going to have a good time with this. Ron Burgundy says, do you think Negan is going to bring peace again with a thirsty Lucille? I think that Negan will be a strong foe for the Whispers. I really do. And we've asked this in several videos, but I do want to get it included. Who do the Whispers have to kill for all of you in this stream right now, and all of you watching the playback, to accept and let Negan help us kill the Whispers? Who do you need to see die before you are so pissed off at the Whispers that you're going to say, we need Negan? Pete D says Rick. Rick. Shannon says Maggie. Rick. Game of the Walking Dead says Carol. Rick. Maggie. Carol. Rosita, I want this included in the video. What's really, really important is the writers know this about us. And that's why they are going to make the Whispers unlike anything that we've ever seen. Dark, evil, no doubt about it. There is no gray area with the Whispers. There is no neutral ground. It is pure evil, and there's going to be no debate that we want them dead, and that we will take anybody in the Saviors, and we'll take Dwight, and we'll take Negan. I think there's going to be very little doubt that anybody's willing to fight them is going to have a place. And Tommy says, what if they kill Rick and Maggie? And Tommy, I hope it doesn't go down that way. Look, I'm a big fan of the show. You guys know what we do here. And I'll watch without Rick, but I got to tell you, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt if Rick is put in a situation where the door is not open for him to ever come back. And Groove 172 says, Kills, do you think the Saviors will help fight the Whispers? I do. I think that I think the Saviors will need Negan. And doesn't it kind of, I'll ask the group this question, and please put your response in chat. Doesn't it kind of feel like there's so much animosity between each other that Negan is going to have to be the person to smooth it out? Do you guys feel that a little bit? Like, Rick can't do it. Daryl can't do it. Maggie can't do it. Maybe Negan is the person that once and for all can say, we need to bridge this. I mean, at least doesn't that look like what we're watching on the screen? That fight. You know, they can't get along with each other. They hate each other. They want to kill each other. Perhaps a reformed Negan is what it's going to take to get everybody back on the same page. I know I'm having a hard time accepting Negan, but you know, I asked you guys the setup question, who could the Whisperers kill? And you told me there is a possibility, and then, you know, the icing on the cake is whether or not Negan can help band the groups together to get them to fight. Daryl leads a group, Magnet leads a group, Negan leads a group. You know, that might be the best chance they have, but they're going to have to be brutal. All right, everybody, we could probably stream all night long. It has been over an hour. I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys are absolutely amazing. No doubt the best group on YouTube, the best Walking Dead forum. Amazing thoughts, amazing ideas. We got some great theories out there. Even if I didn't call on you, a lot of those, you know, keep typing, everybody. Keep putting your stuff in here. I can't get everybody verbally included into it, but everything that you guys type is a permanent part of this. If you're watching the playback, leave your thoughts and comments below. One last call, all the people in this, do me a favor. If you had a good time, if you're part of the 999 Army, slide the mouse over, give this video a thumbs up, come back and see us once again. If you're still here, if you type a 999, then that means that you are 999 and you're having a great time and you feel like this is the best group out there, this is the best forum, and I'm going to try to give you as many shout-outs as we possibly can. So if you feel that way, hit the like button, give me a 999, and let me start shouting some people out. Oh, One-Eyed Carl, Tommy V in the house, George Naraz, Chris Rainig, oh my gosh. And you guys wonder why I can't do all these shout-outs? Take a look at the stream. I mean, this is unbelievable. You know what? I might be able to do a shout out here or there. So I want to say thank you to all the patrons, all the sponsors, my moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kel, all the super chatters, and especially the sponsors and the 999 Army. Amazing. 1189 Paris with a super chat while all the streaming's going up. Andrew Lincoln is probably leaving for how the direction of the show is going. Lauren Cohen. She isn't getting paid the money she wants. Paris, it's possible, but you know, I would take Andrew Lincoln at face value, and he has never came out and said that he didn't like the direction of the show. He says he loves the character of Rick Grimes, and he talked about his family. So you might be right, but, you know, I tend to believe what he says. Kieran, thank you so much. Sinister One, Casey, Peter, Daddy Corleone, Sonia Davidson. That was some fast chat, right? Lisa Khaleesi, thank you so much. June Smith. The Cat Nat. What's up, Cat Nat? Gina. Good to see you, Gina. The Walking Dead Nerd. Joe Kravitz. Maggie B. Dawn of the Frank. Ron Burgundy. Mark Jacob. Tanya Dockstader. Shortstop. What's up? Alicia James. Thank you. Donnie Blair, appreciate it. Thanks for your comments earlier, too. Kean West. I don't know who I've given shout-outs to, who I haven't. 1964 Cats, what's up? Bronze Kitten. Molly Marshall. What's up, Molly from Virginia? Thank you for being here. Kelly Golan's in here, thank you. Great time. Sean James. D. Martinelli. And just one last tidbit for you guys, and this is why I think the 999 Army is so strong and why you guys are such a great group. Remember T-Dog that was here about 15, 20 minutes ago? See, that's the type of crap that we don't deal with. We want a group that likes to get together, have a good time, no drama. We have probably weeded out, honestly, out of 72,000 subscribers on this channel, we probably weeded out 5,000 trolls that are blocked because they're just, they just add no value to what we do. So we are strong. We're strong forum. We're strong Walking Dead fans. We're strong Fear the Walking Dead fans. We disagree with each other at times. We disagree with the writers sometimes. We disagree with the show sometimes. But the reason we're all here is because of the show and because we like to hang out with each other. So that's my testimonial at the very end. Probably not as deep of a comment at the end as we started out the video, but thanks for everything that you guys do. And I will see everybody here tomorrow at 9:30. Thanks, everybody. Peace.